Hey there, Bear Club! At the Mama Bear Initiative, we explore how to protect ourselves so we can protect our cubs, the people who depend on us. Join us and get the confidence you need to stay safe, make good choices, and protect yourself and those you care about. Let's go!
Hello, and welcome back to the Mama Bear Initiative podcast. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
We'd like to thank you for joining us today on this podcast episode, and we are going to be doing interview number 3 for me, Stephanie.
Yay, Stephanie.
Woo. Maybe. I might cry.
Oh, no.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be good. It'll be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yeah, so what are we going to be talking about today?
Self-worth.
Yeah. So we're going to be actually going with Stephanie on her journey to self-worth.
We're going to talk about where I've been, where I'm at, and where I hope to be
Yes.
in the future.
Yes, in that order, preferably.
Yeah, we're not
To avoid
doing
confusion.
any time traveling, or we're not in any sci-fi episodes, thank
Darn.
God.
I said darn.
Yeah,
Darn.
Sorry,
What sci-fi
guys.
episode do you want to be in?
I don't know.
That jumps all over.
I've seen the majority of sci-fi out there, and pretty much all of them have some sort of time travel episode, and then they have a time loop episode. We're not in any of those.
That's not. You're on the wrong podcast. If that's what
Yeah,
you're looking
sorry.
That's not what
for.
we're talking about.
Sorry, guys. We are
Sorry.
not
I'm a big
going
nerd,
there.
but I'm not going to do that. Everybody hates time travel.
What? I would love it. But anyway,
Too many problems.
Way too many variables.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with you guys are in charge.
All right.
uh-oh. the inmates running the asylum.
Uh-oh. The little sisters are in charge. What are we going to do?
Everybody run for your lives.
Or stick around and enjoy the
happens.
ride.
Watch the chaos or listen to the chaos in this case,
Hopefully I
I guess.
don't want to poke myself in the eye with a pencil at the end. I'm kidding.
She knows us so well.
Being the eldest,
And the firstborn, because
And
there's
the
two different things.
totally different wavelengths. Anyway, so yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Interview me, please.
So to start things off, Steph, why don't you give us a little bit of a background about the beginning of your journey of self-worth, where you were.
Yeah. So when I was 19, for various reasons, I suddenly became aware of the fact that there was sexual abuse in my childhood. And then as I got into therapy pretty much right away. So I'm 55 now, so that's like 34 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
Been pretty much in therapy this whole time. I mean, there's been gaps or whatever, but most of this time I've spent trying to overcome. And then, things kind of escalated from there, and more things are added. And, right now the main thing I'm dealing with is the effect of being my mother's daughter, which has more to do with my lack of self-worth than the other stuff. Although obviously sexual abuse does mess with your sense of self-worth.
Yeah, for
Definitely, yeah.
But lately, I've been dealing with that exact problem, lack of self-worth in the sense of not being good enough, which in our last episode with Rochelle, we were talking about the central message seems to be for people who experienced abuse as a child, I'm not good enough.
Yes.
Right.
And that to me means that, I'm not good enough to be loved or cared for or treated with kindness or respect or any of those things, that
Right.
there's something about me that isn't worth or has no value to where the adults around me would, give me what I needed as a child, because, children come into this world completely helpless.
Right.
And it's up
That's
to
true.
us adults to provide for them, to love them, to bond with them, to bring them up in whatever values we have.
That's right.
If there's any major gaps in that, that creates a really big problem for the child.
Right.
Right.
So, my specific journey with this, my mother was trying to mold me into something I wasn't. In addition to the abusive behavior that she had. Now, I wasn't treated to being beaten as much as Rochelle,
Right.
but I was treated to a good bit of like psychological abuse. She confused the heck out of me. Like
Yeah.
I had no idea who I was, or I just didn't understand. It took me until I was like 50 to figure that out.
Wow.
Right.
Long time.
Yeah, I kind of went through this weird teenage phase for about 5 years.
You mean as an adult?
As an adult,
I love that.
because I didn't do it as a teenager.
Right.
Yeah, you weren't allowed, right?
Not at all. No, I was scared stiff, basically. I didn't do anything or say anything that could possibly inflict pain,
Wow.
because our mother was just unpredictable and scary, so there was no way to tell what would happen if I acted myself.
Right.
So not only was I unaware of what my value was, I was also too scared to even try to be myself.
Right. So it was, sounds like it was easier to just conform just for your own safety.
Yeah, that was my safety, was conforming. And I spent a good bit of my life conforming to one thing or another just to be accepted.
Right.
Because what do people want? They want acceptance.
Right.
They want love.
Yeah.
Right. And I was looking for that in various ways. And I kept getting rejected in one way or another because I was ironically too smart, too quirky,
Yeah.
or too rebellious.
So even though you were trying so hard to conform, the real you it sounds like it kept emerging and getting you in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. With my peers, because I always knew the answers to the questions and wanted to give the right answer. I was teacher's pet, kiss up, brown noser, any number of goody two shoes was one I heard a lot. Because I was always trying to follow the rules and do the right thing,
Yeah.
which is anti-rebellious streak. But I do have a rebellious streak.
Oh, she absolutely does.
So what is your actual identity or personality as you know it now?
Well, maybe I'll get into that a little later because I want to kind of talk a little bit more about where I've been.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because where I'm at is that thing that you're asking me about.
Gotcha.
And I want to
Yeah.
expand on that
Yeah.
a little later.
Yeah. I want to hear more of your beginnings.
So, through the past 34 years, I've been just trying to untangle the mess that is my brain. And, coming to acceptance about I have brain injury because PTSD is brain injury.
Right.
That my brain is wired backwards, upside down, and sideways. It's not normal. It's never going to be normal.
Right.
I have to figure out ways to do things that might not be so hard for other people. And, just feeling about like right now, I'm struggling through a massive amount of anxiety pretty much daily. And a lot of that anxiety has to do with my value.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I've been through so many different things, so many different modes of therapy and healing, and I have received quite a bit of healing.
Right.
Even when I joined the martial arts 8.5 years ago, that set me on a different track, but I was already in a certain amount of healing, a place with a certain amount of healing. But that sort of set a new trajectory for me because I realized one night, and this is going to kind of tell where I was, this little story. And I tell this one every once in a while to illustrate how martial arts can help you, or self-defense training or whatever.
Right.
I was in class and I was grappling a guy who was very strong, very wiry, very fast. And I'm, middle-aged, overweight woman with not as much experience.
Right.
But I was doing my best. I was doing my best to keep him off of me, to try to trap him. And I got trapped underneath of him, and he was basically sitting on top of me. And he had me in a chokehold, and he was applying pressure, and I was trying to get out, and I couldn't, so I tapped out.
Right.
But I had this immediate surge of emotion that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And I removed myself from class to go sit down for a couple minutes and try to sort out what was happening. And it actually took a couple of days, but I began to realize that the feeling I had in that moment, I was triggered into kind of a memory, like a body memory of not wanting to fight back against someone who was, raping me.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Because as a child, if someone's doing that to you, the idea is you don't fight back so you don't get hurt more.
Right.
And I realized as an adult, if somebody was trying that with me, I would not want to fight back.
Right. That's
Because
scary.
I didn't value myself. So
Right.
I prayed about it, and I felt this direction to go visit this Krav Maga instructor nearby, who is this, gentle giant of a man. And I told him, I bought some private lessons. I told him I'm not here to learn Krav Maga necessarily. I'm here for this reason. I need to figure out how to want to fight back. Like I don't have it within me to do that.
Right.
And so we met 3 times. It was during the second one, because we did more talking than actual training.
Yeah.
It was during the second one where he said to me, you have to protect what God gave you, meaning
Wow,
my body. And that triggered some understanding that I hadn't had before.
Yeah.
Right. So that started something in me where I could, outside of myself, see value in my being because I existed.
Yeah.
That was like the very beginning of understanding my value as a person just because I exist.
Right.
Yeah.
And that has set me on a trajectory where that is getting stronger. And that is getting more prevalent like these days. Because I think I met with him, I don't know, it's like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so these days, if somebody was coming after me, I would, no hesitation, I would fight them tooth and nail.
Yeah.
Even if, like
Yeah.
Rochelle said, even if I'm going down,
Yep.
I'm going down fighting.
Right. So when you'd mentioned that protecting what God gave you, was that one of the pivotal moments? And maybe you could tell us some other pivotal moments that took you into more of the way you see yourself now.
Yeah, that was definitely a pivotal moment because that kind of put things in a perspective that I hadn't considered before. Because, something I'm always searching for is perspective. Like,
Right.
what is the correct perspective on this specific topic?
Right.
Because I don't necessarily trust my feelings on a matter because my feelings are kind of all over the map.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That
Rather,
sounds-
I'm trying to find truth. And, for me specifically, that would be God's truth. What does the Bible say? That kind of thing. And, the idea that we get from the Bible is God values us because we're made in his image. So that
Right.
automatically places heavy value on myself.
Yeah.
He created me, therefore I have value, and that's it.
Right.
There was a period I went through not long after that where I started to really feel the anger of all the abuse that I experienced because I hadn't felt the anger.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of almost clinical about it. Like, yeah, this happened to me, but I didn't have any emotions. And, if somebody's doing something to you, if somebody's abusing you, you should feel angry about that.
Yes,
you should.
absolutely.
But if you've tamped down on your feelings for a very long time, it's not necessarily accessible.
Right.
Right.
And it doesn't even like click in your head that you should feel injustice. You should feel
Yeah.
angry. So this strong sense of anger just like flooded me. And I had to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was
Yes.
so strong. And I couldn't just like take it out on people. I needed to put that energy somewhere. So
Right.
some of it went into developing my own personality and developing my sense of self, but it also went to other avenues where I'm teaching other people their value, teaching them how to do certain things, how to protect themselves. So those are a couple that I can recall. I mean, there's smaller ones with different tests I've done with my belts, etc., where there's an increase in value in my own mind. The most recent one is I realized that because I wanted to be accepted by people, and I get rejected quite often in society, that I actually had to accept rejection as part of being who I am. If I'm going to be who I am, like my actual self, I was raised to be a lady. I was raised to be extremely feminine and womanly in, I don't know, my mother's sense, whatever that was.
Right.
But it turns out Rochelle was always tagged as the tomboy
I was.
between the
That's
two
true.
of us, but I'm actually the tomboy.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
Rochelle's not, I mean, kind of tomboyish, but you're really just not that much. You're more feminine than I am.
In personality, I'm definitely less aggressive, for sure.
I'm a very aggressive person. Like, my go-to is hothead.
Yes.
Without God's help, I'm a hothead, and I'm ready to fight people. Like, that's my actual personality. And I figured that out through the martial arts.
Yeah.
And just through time. So.
Yeah. And I've definitely seen that change in you over the years of figuring out who you are.
Yeah.
You're not at all who you were raised to be, for sure.
Yeah.
And that idea of being to the place where you can accept rejection, I think that's a place that a lot of us would like to get to and aren't quite there yet. So, I feel like in some ways, okay, that's a good challenge for those of us who, as we're accepting who we are, we need to understand that not everybody's going to like us.
Right.
So,
and being okay with not being liked. And not being liked for very specific reasons that are just following me through my life.
Right.
yeah, and really things that aren't your fault, and that sort of thing, instead of just trying to people please.
Yeah, like one of the things that people rejected me on that I mentioned is, being a goody two-shoes, like following the rules. I can't not follow the rules.
Right.
If somebody tells me this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, I'm going to do that. I can't imagine not following the rules.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really
I don't
core.
understand people who do.
I mean, part of your self-worth, too, is this is who I am. And it's not that you're being obnoxious about it. It's just, it's part of, accepting who you are and being unapologetic about that.
Yeah.
Which seems to me to be definitely a huge part of self-worth.
Yeah, so.
And it's being comfortable in your own skin, too. That's been a big one my whole life. But not that this is about me, this is about you. But figuring that out, I think, gives you that ability to accept rejection as part of being part of who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm working on with therapy, with my therapist, I'm working on what that looks like for me.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of the anxiety is just like trying to put a stop to things like catastrophic thinking and rumination and other stuff that goes on in my head that, is troubling. It's not bad. It's just distracting and troubling.
Yeah.
But it's like a habit. It just happens automatically. So I'm working on that sort of thing.
Right.
Going back to Rochelle's question about who do I think I am now?
Yes.
Yes.
So where I'm at right now is that I realize that, I have a hot-headed nature, rough and tumble nature, a bit of a tomboy, and I'm going to fight people.
Yeah.
Right? Now, this is all with a caveat that under God's Spirit, I'm not at all aggressive or like actually attacking people.
Right.
Right.
I'm still myself. I'm just following God's way
Right.
of how to interact with people. But the energy of my personality is there behind what I'm saying or what I'm doing. Because I've come to realize that my nature is fire.
Right.
And so my nature is to spark hope in other people by sharing my story or encouraging them in some way, whether it's, something out of the Bible or some wisdom or something I've gained from experiences, or just listening and offering hope in some way that, if I could overcome this, so can you.
Yes.
Kind of a deal.
Yes.
So, I burn hot and bright, but also, but I guess you could say God points me in a direction and says, go do this thing. And then I do that thing. And then the other person benefits, maybe it'll burn, but it's for the better.
Yeah.
And I can attest to that. I live with my sister, and I'm very blessed to have her in my life to do just that for me, because without her, I don't know where I would be, honestly. Like, her personality and what God created her to be is very prevalent, and I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah. So, I get upset. I get angry. I have to work on what's going on in my head. I have to think through things. But when I think about myself now, aside from the not good enough thing that I'm just now starting to get healing from,
Yeah.
I can see value in my existence, not only because I was created, but because I have a job. I have a thing to do with my personality.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm working in concert with God himself and not trying to do things in my own power, as long as that's true, usually the results are good.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself going with your journey of self-worth, going forward?
There's a person I admire. Her name is Michelle Manu, and she is one of my teachers, and she teaches us a certain martial art. And she seems to have a really strong grip on her sense of worth as a person, as a woman, as a warrior, as a martial artist. And so I've been studying her way of being. She doesn't strike me as somebody who has a lot of doubts. Maybe she does, because she's human, but not a lot. So I'm inching closer to a more idealized version of myself, where I have more confidence in what I believe and what I know and what I say with conviction, because sometimes I struggle with saying what I believe because I'm using air quotes, because I'm not sure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was thrust into teaching martial arts 4.5 years ago, unexpectedly. And I'm not at all mad about that.
Right.
But it's put me into a position where a lot of the time I feel kind of unsure. I'll think of something, I'm like, am I sure I should be teaching that?
Yeah.
My confidence wavers a lot
Yeah.
because of anxiety. But then I just do it, and it's usually fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing of feeling the self-doubt, acknowledging it, and then just going for it anyway.
Yeah. So I'm looking for less self-doubt. I mean, I think self-doubt has in a certain measure is good for people.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have any doubts about what you're doing, then you have an ego problem.
Right.
Right.
Definitely.
So I think a measure of it is fine. But if it's 80% self-doubt and 20% confidence, that's not a great place to be, especially if you're influencing people.
Right. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm looking to increase my confidence in my abilities and my knowledge. And not just, I'm always increasing my abilities and my knowledge, but I want to increase my confidence in it so that I can speak on what I believe without going, oh, I wonder if I should have said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. It is a rough place to be, because in the moment you think, okay, let me say this thing. Then you say it, immediately want to take it back. And if there's no good reason for you to want to take it back, it's one thing to go, oh man, I shouldn't have said that,
Right.
Yeah.
where it was the wrong thing. But to get to that place where you can just have a quiet confidence.
Yes. Yeah, I want to exude confidence. And I don't want it to be false either.
Right. Yeah.
I think people in my life have more confidence in me than I have in myself.
Yes.
So Mike, for example, my trainer,
Ah, yes.
he'll pull out 100-pound dumbbell and tell me, I want you to lift this, once or twice or 3 times. I'm looking at him like, are you crazy?
You insane?
I don't think I can do that. And he's like, you can do it. I don't know. But I've learned to trust his judgment, and I just do it.
Right.
But I would like to feel confident about something like that. Or if I'm standing in front of a class, martial arts at Neotaki Dojo, and I'm standing there sometimes I feel I'm not sure. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel confident about it. But my one instructor, Jose's sensei, he has a lot of confidence in me.
Yes.
And he'll say that occasionally, and I'll be like, okay, I guess I'll believe you.
You see, and I was thinking about that, how you've chosen to surround yourself with people who do build you up. The people who are closest to you tend to be the ones who say, yeah, I believe you can do that. And then you choose to believe them.
Right.
And go for it.
Yeah, and since it's never as bad as we think it is, and we tend to be our own worst critics, it's good to have people around you that can tell you, it's really okay, you're doing a great job, which is actually true.
Yeah. I think, like the catastrophic thinking problem, like sometimes something will happen and I'll respond a certain way in the moment, which was probably the right way. But then I immediately start second guessing myself. And that can keep up for days. And I have to be like, no, you did the right. I have to parent myself. You did the right thing. You said the right, I'd like that to go away.
Right. That would be nice. Yes.
Because I think part of that is confidence.
Yes.
I think part of it is just the brain injury part, but I think part of it is confidence. Like telling myself the truth about what was actually happening and I did the right thing, or even if I did the wrong thing, that it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing for us to remember, as some of the takeaways from this is we can choose to find the truth, align ourselves with the truth, and let that build us up instead of that tendency to tear ourselves down or to, let others' opinions matter too much.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I have let other people's opinions direct me and how I should behave, and I've tried to adjust myself to things. When I said rebellious, I don't mean that I actively rebel. It just seems like my way of doing things or my way of thinking about things is very different than other people's, and oftentimes I end up I let other people's opinions sway me in how I behave, and the rebellious thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't mean that I'm actively seeking to rebel against the rules because I actually want to follow the rules. What I mean is that my personality is such and my way of doing things is such that it's usually outside of the norm. And people want me to do things this way, but I'm like, no, I can't do things that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I have to do things this way in order to get the same result.
Right.
Yeah.
And that frustrates people.
It does. But I love how we can get to that place where I need to do things differently. People don't understand, and it's okay if they don't understand.
It's not always been okay that they didn't understand, though. That's the part that's been troubling. I'm trying to get past. I'm on that journey right now. I'm getting past that mark where it's okay if someone disagrees. Like, one of the top things people try to tell me to do when I'm talking about my anxiety is journal.
Yep. That's a very common and often very effective way to do things, but it doesn't work for you, does it?
No, it doesn't work for me because, first of all, I can't make my hand right. Like when I sit down to handwrite anything, I don't know what happens, but my handwrite, my words get it's a mess. I end up scratching a bunch out, and because the spelling's wrong, or I've run words together, I've forgotten a word. It's terrible. I can type better than I can handwrite.
Right.
Secondly, the process of actually writing anything is just
too strenuous or too stressful.
Stressful for me.
Yeah.
My actual mode of dealing with my anxiety is actually just talking. I don't even need the other person to talk back. I don't need them to respond. I just need them, because just talking out loud is enough to get it out of my head.
Yeah, and you can kind of sort it out as you go.
Right, and if the result is to, calm down the anxiety, if you do journaling, and I get the same effect by just talking.
Right.
Why are you trying to make me journal?
Do what works best for you.
But then people take that, I can't do it that way, as rebellion.
like like you're mad at them, or you're just wanting, like rebellion,
or just won't listen.
no
I
good
just won't
reason.
listen. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
you're not
am listening,
listening
but actually, you're not listening to me.
Yeah, because I tried that and it doesn't work. So
Sounds like they have their own problems with maybe self-worth and self-confidence. I don't know.
hey, don't we all?
Yeah, I don't know. I just know that the way that I get treated, it's as if I'm being rebellious.
Right.
Yeah,
And maybe I am, in the sense that I got to do it the way I got to do it.
right.
I feel very protective about that.
But that's not a rebellion. That's authenticity. And authenticity. That's what we're trying to get to with our self-worth and our self-confidence, is to be authentic.
Right.
Yeah,
And then when someone's journey is pushing against someone else's journey, even in a small way, like journaling or not journaling, I think it really rubs people the wrong way. Just don't like it.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be, ideally, we shouldn't be that insecure.
yeah. And taking
But
it
most people
personally.
are, or a lot of people are, I
Take it
should say.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much where I'm at and where I want to go.
So, what is some encouragement you'd like to give our listeners in their own self-worth journey?
What I'd like to, one thing I'd like to try to help people focus on is accepting where they're at right now.
Yeah.
People want to get too far ahead on dealing with these sorts of problems. They want an instantaneous, like, recovery that happens in a week.
Right. It doesn't work
Which
that way.
does-
Wouldn't that be nice?
If you're stuck with this sort of a thing, it's going to take you years to recover, to get better.
Right.
And if you accept where you're at, it makes it easier to start taking steps in the right direction so that you can actually recover, because it's going to be a messy journey. You're going to
Right.
be up, you're going to be down, you're going to be outside, inside, backwards, standing on your head in a corner, wondering
Yeah.
what the heck is going on.
Yes. It's true.
But it's like that, and it needs to be okay that it's
Yeah.
like that. Let it be messy. Let it just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Even if you're just like scraping yourself forward with your fingernails face down in the dirt.
it's a step.
Yeah.
If it's a centimeter forward, it's a centimeter forward.
It's still progress.
So I guess I would say be patient.
Yes. Agreed.
Yes. And let it be what it is.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for
Yeah.
joining us today.
I know I said that last week.
But in this capacity, and just letting us,
Yeah.
get to know you a little better. And
I'm glad to share. I hope it helps somebody.
it's been
I mean-
very encouraging.
Even though I've been a witness to a lot of this, I did learn a lot as well. So thank you for being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am happy to. So, anyway, thank you for joining us on this podcast episode. I'm Stephanie Dunham.
I'm Evelyn Mason.
I'm Rochelle Knapp.
Have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us as we discussed such an important topic. We hope you got some food for thought and encouragement to keep going and keep growing. See you later, Bear Club.
Remember to join the Bear Club on our Patreon page for exclusive content. The link is in the description. You can find our podcast on Google, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.